In part 1 of this video series, we looked at how, on the first day of the Russian invasion, Hostomel airport near Kyiv was hit at 7 a.m. by a Russian cruise missile. A few hours later, dozens of Russian helicopter gunships started engaging the airport's defenders for hours. Here's what happened next. The Wall Street Journal reports that, after nearly 3 hours of strafing Hostomel airport on the first day of the invasion, Russian helicopters started to disgorge elite Russian soldiers on the most remote parts of the airport's open fields. These troops could later be seen on helmet cam as they carefully engaged the remaining resistance and moved toward the airport's built-up area. Here, they set up roadblocks and anti-tank missiles to stop Ukrainian counterattacks. As the Russians dug in, Ukrainian intelligence realized that Moscow planned to send 18 transport aircraft into Ukraine from Belarus. That night, a unit of 48 Ukrainian paratroopers jumped into 3 helicopters and sped toward Hostomel. Their mission was to get close enough to the landing strip to destroy at least the first Russian transport aircraft so no others would dare to land. The small Ukrainian force dismounted in a field west of the airport and approached it on foot, under cover of darkness. Suddenly, a Russian surveillance drone buzzed over them, and they realized that they had been spotted. Tomorrow, we'll show you part 3 of the Battle of Hostomel Airport. Interestingly, combat footage on the first day of the battle shows many parts of the battle unfolding. One video shows a Russian Kamov Ka-52 attack helicopter conducting many strafing runs before it is damaged by Ukrainian fire and has to make an emergency landing in one of the fields surrounding the airstrip. In another video, Ukraine's famous Antonov An-225 cargo plane can be seen burning to the ground in its open hangar. The An-225 was the world's largest functional cargo plane, and only one was ever built. It is not certain if it was hit by Russian fire or if the Ukrainians destroyed it to prevent the Russians from using it. There are also quite a few videos showing hundreds of Russian attack and troop-carrying helicopters converging on Hostomel from all sides. Most of these videos were taken by Ukrainian civilians using their phone cameras to get footage of the attack from their homes and cars. Russian combat footage also shows Russian elite airborne troops dismounting from their helicopters after the aerial strafing had ended. The troops can be seen moving from the outer fields of the airport toward the built-up areas. The Wall Street Journal says the Russian military claimed its paratroopers suffered no losses and killed 200 of the airport's defenders. Ukraine's forces had been able to slow down the Russian invasion, causing miles of Russian military convoys to get stuck on Ukrainian roads. A big part of the reason for this bottleneck is Ukraine's spring mud. Rasputitsa is the name given to the extremely muddy conditions that affect Russia and Ukraine when spring temperatures melt the winter snow. It was a huge problem when first Napoleon, then Hitler tried to invade Russia, and it's now a huge problem for Putin trying to invade Ukraine. France 24 reports that springtime temperatures are starting to turn Ukraine into a quagmire of mud. This has led to many Russian armored vehicles and even tanks getting stuck in the stuff, forcing their crews to abandon them. This means Russian armor has to stay on roads and can't risk maneuvering over open ground. Ukraine's army has been able to exploit this limitation by getting information on where the convoys are moving toward. They can then choose an ambush point and use trucks to pull long-range artillery pieces into a position where it can hit the ambush point accurately. Drones can then be used to show when the enemy reached the ambush point. Drone footage recently showed how one such artillery ambush managed to drop shells on dozens of Russian tanks that had clustered together in the town of Skivin. The drone recorded as shell after shell rained down on the armored vehicles, scoring a few direct hits. The convoy then quickly retreated back up the road it came in on. Ukrainian missile teams then moved in and managed to destroy more of these tanks just north of Skivin. Russian armor continues to amass around major cities in Ukraine while mostly keeping to paved roads, where Ukrainian infantry units can often engage them with anti-tank missiles from short distances. Western analysts are surprised that Ukrainian artillery can still function, as these weapons are usually taken out quickly when a major power uses its large air force to achieve air superiority and bomb all slow-moving ground targets. The Associated Press reported that after the second week of war, Russia had started to lay siege to Ukrainian cities, pounding them with heavy artillery. This was partly because Ukrainian forces had been able to frustrate Russian war tactics by successfully deploying their limited number of expensive Western-made missile systems. Russia managed to gain air superiority early on by destroying large anti-aircraft and radar systems via airstrikes. However, it later had to hold back most of its large aircraft arsenal after many of its attack planes and helicopters were shot down by roving bands of soldiers firing man-pad missiles like the famous Stinger with lethal effect. Russia's other tactical focus, its large tank force, has also been blunted by small groups of Ukrainian troops using advanced anti-tank missiles like the Javelin and NLAW. These small infantry units had been able to stop large armored divisions in their tracks. Such tactics had trapped Russian armor in long static convoys where Ukrainian drones could bomb them from the air. However, war analysts warn that despite the fact that Ukrainian fighters have had many successes and inflicted many losses on Russian forces, it is far too soon to say that Russia is losing the war. Analysts believe it is still early in the conflict, and Russia still has large forces at its disposal.
For more news animations and explainers, hit the subscribe and bell button to join the TomoNews family. Thanks for watching.